How you doing? My name is James Harper. I'm the Coppers Cove Weekly Herald editor. I'm here with Mr. George Duncan. He is running for seat 5 for the Cove City Council. Thank you, George, for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, starting right away, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and why you're running?
I've been a Cove resident since the mid '90s when my family arrived here. We were stationed here. I'm a 35-year military veteran, retired in 2011. We fell in love with Coppers Cove. We bought our home here. We actually planned this was going to be our retirement home. And after that, of course, served throughout the world. I stayed connected with Cove, stayed connected with Cove politics, and what was going on. We returned here, and I actually tried to run as soon as I returned here, but I missed the filing deadline by 2 days, and thought to myself at that point, I was like, wow, information, is it a pull or a push information, type of environment, and kind of found out it was, you got to kind of pull. So I made sure that I was tracking things, and I wanted to throw my name in the hat for city council when the opportunity presented itself. So I've always had a desire to serve. Serving has been sort of like my life's blood. For 35 years in the military, and I've served throughout the world in very prestigious positions. So I've had a lot of experience with communities. We've been involved in every community we've been associated with. We've been involved with budgets. We've been involved with policies, procedures, ordinances, codes, just general life in itself, because anytime, and especially if you're overseas, a small community becomes a small city within itself. So there are a lot of very much similarities between our city itself and some of the experiences that we've had. So therefore, I felt as though I had something more to offer, and that's where I came up with my slogan, which was, Cove, a fresh perspective, which is someone who's been around the world, who's seen some things succeed in other areas, has tried different ideas that have failed, but what I bring to the table is a fresh perspective. No ties to any specialty group or any, all of our campaign funding was done out of our own pocket. We don't owe anybody anything. I don't want to say that in a negative way, but our desire is to serve the residents of Coppers Cove. So my only guarantee to them is, first of all, I will listen, I'll communicate, and of course, because it's infectious, is I'll be proud of our community.
All right. Well, thank you for that. So we kind of just went over this, but specifically, what makes you the best candidate for the position?
Well, I think my experience and my background, my education, and I like to highlight on the experience because it is working in and with communities, local governments, resolving issues or finding ways to resolve issues, and budgeting. Because every issue has a dollar sign attached to it, and I've had this discussion with many people. And unless there is a dollar sitting there to attract or to attack an issue itself, it's almost impossible to resolve it without doing what we tend to do. And sometimes it's just forced, just because of budgetary constraints, is to push it down the road. So we call that the capital outlay plan. And we continue to push these things down the road. But as you push them down the road, they tend to get a little bit bigger each time they get pushed. And sometimes competing requirements start to move things around on that order of priority list. So I think that's what I bring. And I also bring that fresh perspective of let's try things that we have not done, and historically, and in particular, why not allow us to sell liquor and mixed beverages in Coppers Cove, the only city in the region right now that doesn't permit that, within the local region. And there are some startling numbers some data that will indicate we're really behind the power curve when it comes to developing and building revenue. Mm-hmm. And this is my whole purpose, is how do we develop and bring in more revenue into our city to do the things we need to do? We're going to cut $413,000 out of police services. My goodness. We can't fix that with liquor, but we can go a long way with starting to resolve some of those issues. So,
that's actually kind of like leads right into my next question, was about the liquor license. Since you kind of already stated your position, outside of selling liquor, there are other opportunities for what liquor can bring, and maybe you can touch on a few of those.
Oh, absolutely. What it does is it creates a community that's more attractive to our higher clientele businesses is what we like to look at them as. We're not interested in a bunch of liquor stores. I mean, my goodness, we've got a code, we've got a great city council, we've got a government that controls that through zoning. So the control of who puts what where is taken care of. But once you allow that, you start to attract some of your higher class businesses. And we've got businesses that have already told us in no uncertain terms that, hey, if you approve this, I mean, we're interested. You know, you've got the population, you've got the need, you've got the desire, and you've got the location, you know. But we're not going to relinquish our permits, nor are we going to give up the opportunity for the profit margin that liquor brings just to come to Copper's Cove right now. But once you do, you know, we're more than willing. Now, once you do that, you have to understand this. It's not like a domino principle, but you can attract businesses, higher class restaurants. You start to attract other things like industry. We've got 73 acres of the industrial site. I'd love to see us have an opportunity where we can attract something that we make, we build, we put together, we ship, we process. I think we're doing well when it comes to retail. But this also leads to giving our seniors that graduate high school an opportunity to do something else other than leave Copper's Cove because they have to,
right, not
because they want to.
Right. Another big, kind of a big deal going on in Cove right now is the Chicken Ordinance. Now, we have spoken before about this, but what is your position and how would you approach it?
You know, when you ask that, I smile, and I hope no one takes that smile as meaning it's not important, because it is important. If it's important to a resident, like I said, I'll listen, I'll communicate, and I'll be proud. If it's important to a resident, it's important. It's an issue, so let's resolve it. I'm on the side of the chicken. As long as the chicken, treated humanely. And now, when I say that, you want to make sure that also we also protect the rights of your neighbors. Mm-hmm. Should there be a restriction on distance from neighbors? Should there be a restriction that you get neighbors' approval? I'm not sure, and I'm willing to discuss that, and I'm open to that opportunity to discuss that. But I think that we have to protect our neighbors. We have to protect the rights of the chickens. We have to protect the rights of the people who want to have chickens. I think they're a value added. I don't think there is much of a distraction. But then again, I'm not that smart about it. So on the bottom line, I support the chickens. I'd like to see us develop a code that is all-encompassing and what I call inclusive instead of exclusive. Okay. And in doing that, because you can write a code that is so restrictive and so exclusive that if someone wants to have a chicken, it's so hard they just go, forget it, I'm not interested. It should be equally as difficult for the city as it is for the individual, as it is for the neighbor, as it is. Everybody should share in that burden, but I think we ought to allow that.
All right. And my last question for you is, outside of the liquor license and the Chicken Ordinance, what to you is the biggest issue facing Cove, and how would you solve the issue?
That's really a three-prong. One is, of course, revenue generation. Liquor's not the only idea. Okay. There are many, many others. We've discussed building a sports complex, that has a community center in the center of it. We can attract other teams in. I know we have some challenges right now with our football program that may go away, unfortunately, and I'd love to have a whole lot more time. I know we don't to discuss that, but that's just a travesty. That's another idea. Of course, that goes down the road, but we can get to those things. That's one. The other one is we need to get our citizens to vote. Gatesville outvotes us 4-1 on every election. We've got a lot of voice in Copper's Cove. We've got a lot of influence in Copper's Cove. We've got a lot of people who can make a huge change if they just get out and vote. And then last but not least, and not that we're not proud of our city, but I've often said that if you show pride in your city and you're enthusiastic, it's infectious. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see the pride in our city increase.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you.